Sometimes we say we have faith in a higher force or in God, but then when we find ourselves in a dark moment or period in life, this faith sometimes collapses or starts to falter. Now, why does this happen to us, and how can we strengthen our faith, especially in the most critical moments when we need it the most? And also, how do we develop faith without it being just a religious belief? Let's start with what faith is and what it is for. We can define, for example, faith as a belief in a superior force or invisible intelligence to our physical eyes, and which created everything that exists, including ourselves, and serves to give an interpretation of the reality we live in, to give us more strength and hope and to overcome obstacles in life or to be able to accept them. The problem or conflict that arises with faith is that it is often only experienced as a mental belief, as a conditioning, albeit, sometimes can be very powerful, but often not enough when life puts us to the test. Many of us don't like to believe in something invisible or too philosophical without more concrete or, let's say, scientific proof. Therefore, it is necessary to create the conditions to be able to experience it through one's true self, that is, the spirit, because only by feeling oneself, one's true self, can we develop a faith that goes beyond a mental belief, precisely because we feel the presence within us of the same force, of the same being that created the universe and of which we are part of. So, to start creating this faith of the Spirit, we have to align ourselves a little with His thinking. And in the case of faith, it must be an interpretation of reality that approaches the truth according to the Spirit. If the interpretation of our reality is not sufficiently aligned with the thinking of our spirit, we cannot sufficiently get in touch with our higher self, which feeds the force in faith. It is like what teaches the law of vibrational attraction. So here is the interpretation that I use. When we are forced to overcome very difficult moments, there are like maybe wars, we lose people dear to us, we see or experience tragedies or injustices, we observe all the doings of the so-called dark side, and so on. Let us in these moments remember that all this is allowed only thanks to the forces of light, that is, by larger, more powerful forces. Otherwise, it would not be allowed. All of existence follows a divine project, and nothing is wrong, nothing is unfair, even when the complete opposite appears. Because there is always a why, and it is always a higher good that we cannot yet grasp or understand, because we do not have the vision of the Creator. We do not have His project of the universe in His hand, in our hands. I know it can be difficult, with this approach, but a question that arises is, if this were the case, that is, if the forces of light are in charge, how come so many atrocities are allowed precisely by the forces that should instead defend the good, right? That's a legitimate question. I think because a lesson that we all have to learn in this earthly experience is not to judge with a limited human vision, but to strive to see with the eyes of the Creator, or with the eyes of our higher self. And this is how we create that bridge to feel the true faith in us. We must strive to see things from a higher point of view. We can argue endlessly with someone whether the earth is flat or round, but only those who rise into the atmosphere, let's say, to see the earth from a higher point of view will be able to tell the truth. The same thing is with faith. We can experience it as a reality within us only when we move inwardly towards a higher point of view, and from there we interpret the reality that surrounds us. The superior or the higher point of view in this case is to align ourselves with the thoughts of our spirit, to connect more consciously with ourself, and therefore allow our deep feelings to support our faith. Another important thought that helps us in this alignment is the belief that every moment is perfect as it is. Every moment. Even when it goes all wrong, it's perfect as it is. This is a fundamental thought to align with our true self, because if every moment is not perfect, it means that we know how to manage life better in the world as the Creator itself. And this type of thinking belongs to our ego, which distances us from the Spirit and therefore from living faith. Now, this doesn't mean that if everything is perfect, then we can behave as we want because everything is perfect anyway, and we don't pay the consequences of our actions or thoughts or words. It means that we must try to remove the judgment on good and evil and seek a higher or deeper interpretation of reality. To sum up now, the belief that all evil is permitted by a stronger, higher, and wiser good, and that all that occurs is perfect for our personal evolution and that of humanity, these two beliefs, difficult as they may be to be accepted initially, if we feed them whenever we have the opportunity or need to, they gradually take us away from judgment, anger, and fear, and allow us, therefore, to get closer to the thought of our true self. And consequently, we can start living faith from a deeper point inside of us.